you so much for all the women leaders in WFM to join us together. I see that the history of WFM industry, I'm seeing first time all of us together with all the powerful leaders across the world joined us together. I see that, a lot of vibration out here in the system. And I think, this should really create a great celebration. And this should definitely call for, great trend settings. Where now on, we're going to have discussions after discussions, and also we'll have a lot of women leaders coming in and sharing their thoughts. And women leaders have been influencers in the organization, have brought in a lot of changes and transformation. With this, I think we will have a discussion on what you, Vinit.
Sure. Thank you, Shiva. I think absolutely a matter of privilege to be with great intellectual capability, absolutely on the screen. All accomplished, all achieving, all successful women on their own space, on their own right, and everybody in the audience. It is a time to absolutely encash and enrich ourselves through the lovely experiential journey that we all are going to witness through the narratives that are going to come across. So brace up, brace up, keep the chat window absolutely brimming with fire. And while all of you are not able to see me, I think it's a privilege. I can see all 9 wonderful, powerful women on the forum. I would, without wasting any time, quickly request if, and I'll call out some of the names in that order. So we do have, we'll start with Niti Mahajan, who is the global head of WFM for HSBC and is based out of Malaysia. So let's hear from Niti. And Niti, while you would be introducing yourself, request if you can share uh, some of the stereotypes that you have demolished and some of the myths that you have bursted as you have progressed in your journey in this round of introduction. Over to you, Niti.
Thank you so much. And let me get started by saying a huge congratulations to the team who's put the event together. I was looking at the brochure with like almost 50 speakers coming together. So it's amazing to be part of this. So thank you very much for having me. And in terms of, I think, my introduction, I'm Niti. I have been with HSBC for just over 20 years and currently heading our global workforce management team, as well as I am head of operations, managing director for our global service center in Malaysia. So that's just my work introduction. Now coming to the busting of some of those myths or stereotypes. I don't want to talk about any one single instance or any event, but I'll just maybe talk about every time something has been talked about or presented, saying this is too challenging and this is too difficult. I think that's where I have always raised my hand saying, I would like to do if it is too difficult and too challenging. So I think that has, of course, every time I do that, every new role I pick up, it's exhausting. I'll go deep into it, make sure I learn whatever area I'm raising my hand for. But it is quite rewarding once you have gone through the whole piece and you really feel like, yes, I can do it. So that's my quick introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Niti. That is absolutely wonderful to hear that you love to be pushed, you love to be challenged, and you don't mind raising up your hands, and it has been rewarding. So thank you. We would go to Edita Moja. I hope I have pronounced the name right. Director WFM from Telus, based out of Philippines.
Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Hello, my esteemed colleagues. My name is Editha Mohar. I am WFM Director for the APAC region at Telus International. It is such an honor and privilege to be invited to this huge event with the WFM professionals around the world. Like many of you, I have started my career proudly as a customer service representative and quickly learned that I wanted to take a different direction. So I took an opportunity within WFM, and here I am today, serving as a director for a great company. I think that not letting myself be constrained by gender stereotypes has helped me to explore possibilities within my career. And I took inspiration from women in my life, both within my family and among my mentors, who taught me that the only limit is one you set for yourself.
That is awesome. That is awesome. The only limit is what you set for yourself. Wonderful. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you. This is inspiring indeed, and thank you for busting the stereotype myths, gender-based stereotype myths. So absolutely fantastic. We would go. We have two Evelyns in the panel. I'll go with Evelyn Brooks first, or Ev as she is commonly known as. She likes to be called as Ev, director WFM from Conduent, and is based out of down Latin America, from a lovely country called Guatemala.
Thank you. So, first of all, thank you to GWFM for the invitation and for organizing this great knowledge sharing opportunity. Well, I'm the workforce director for Latin region. I started my career in WFM 15 years ago, and since the beginning, it has been my personal project to demolish stereotypes, to motivate and develop women in WFM. And when I left the first BPO I worked for, the women in WFM increased in my department from 6%. I was the only woman in the department, to 40%. So I feel proud reflecting back in my career to be the first woman in a WFM supervisor position, and then the first woman in workforce manager position in the same company I worked for. And at the same time, I'm the first WFM director in Latin America region for the company where I actually work for. So I will continue to challenge myself, as Niti said, and to challenge other women so we can open paths in different places where women leaders are needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ev. That was just wonderful. So in many ways, you would be relishing the same feeling that Neil Armstrong or Edmund Hillary may be undertaking, right? First, came across very passionately in your descriptor. So fantastic. So first man on moon and first WFM director from Guatemala. Lovely. We'll go to other Evelyn Brooks. She is coming from IBM UK, Director WFM IBM UK. Evelyn Pickering, over to you.
Hi, thanks. Firstly, like the others, I'd really like to thank you for the invite today. I'm very flattered and proud to be invited to take part in this roundtable. I've been on some of the sessions earlier today, and they're all really informative and useful. I've been in IBM now for 20 years. I've worked in workforce management for 15 years, originally as a country lead in the UK, then onto a geography lead role, and more recently a director for a global supply for workforce management in IBM GTS. I think over the years, there has been quite a lot of women in workforce management with IBM, so we don't necessarily see stereotypes as such. But I think in general, just being able to get on as a woman and progress through the company into director position, I'm very proud to have done that. And I encourage all my teams that work with me to do that as well. But I think ultimately it's down to your hard work, and as Nita said earlier, it's putting your hand up for things that nobody else wants to do, difficult, complicated things. I relish getting involved in things that need problem solving, need to fix them, and will stand out and take ownership for things. And I think that's helped me throughout my career, as seen as somebody that can get the work done and solve problems. So I think for all the women out there, it's really, don't be shy to stand up, talk about what you know and where you can get involved and make yourself present in what's going on in the business.
Fantastic. Thank you, Evelyn. Don't be shy to stand up. I think that's a wonderful piece of advisory. Noted, recorded, signed, sealed, closed, Evelyn. Thank you. Perfect. Let's move to Ileana. Ilyana, if I am able to pronounce it right, Zdrukova, head of WFM from EMEA Uber Netherlands, and obviously my friend, I came to know that you are a Bulgarian. So over to you,
Yes,
Ilyana.
hence the name. Yeah, so you almost made it. It's Zdravkova, but I know that it's complicated for non-Eastern Europeans, so that's okay. Hey everyone, as you already know, my name's Ilyana and I'm Bulgarian. I do work for Uber in the Netherlands and I'm head of workforce for the EMEA region. I've been with Uber for 2.5 years. Prior to that, I worked in different BPO companies. Plus, I worked with IBM, Evelyn, for a good 6 years. So we must have been there at one point of time at the same time. So in terms of stereotypes, I think that one of the things that Evelyn mentioned as well, like don't be afraid and don't be shy to share your opinion. I think that's one of the things that I've actually seen earlier in my career, where the expectation for a woman would be not to share too much their opinion, not to, you know, raise a hand, not to volunteer necessarily to do things, mainly focus on execution. While I'm on a personal level completely at the opposite opinion. I think you should go and share and be assertive enough. Absolutely make a point once you have it and just go with that. And last but not least, thanks so much for inviting me to be a speaker in one of the events again.
Thank you so very much, Ilyana. I think you brought a very important and interesting perspective, which resonates very well with what Sheryl Sandberg had to share, right? What will I do if I'm not afraid of was a motivation mantra. And your message is absolutely, your gospel is don't be afraid, go and unleash. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that context, Ilyana. We will move to our friend Aide Castella, and
Hi,
she
everyone.
is director WFM from Telus and is operating out of Ireland. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for this opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here and get an opportunity to interact with these great, powerful, and very smart women, hoping to learn a lot today. So my name is Aida. I'm based in Ireland, and I'm the Director for Workforce Management for Europe in Telus International. So I'm part of Melissa's team. I'm one of Editha's colleagues, so I'm in a very, very fortunate situation that on a daily basis, I get to interact and collaborate with some very, very smart ladies who are experts in WFM. I've been with Telus International for 4 years. And in that 4 years, I've had some amazing opportunities. Telus International is a company that's growing rapidly. We've acquired a number of companies, which has led to some integrations which have thrown up challenges, but also given some wonderful learning opportunities. And I think, like the rest of the ladies on these calls here, I love a challenge. I love to embrace the opportunities that those challenges bring. So I've had a wonderful journey in those 4 years with Telus International. As regards stereotypes, I think I'm very fortunate because from a very young age, I had a great role model in my family. My grandmother was an exceptionally strong, no-nonsense woman who ran her own business in an era where not very many women did. So it actually never even occurred to me not to work full-time. It never occurred to me that anybody would stand in the way of my having a career. So I think maybe I was blind to stereotypes because I just refused to see them. But I do think with us women, and I'd be interested in the perspective of the other ladies here, that we do tend to feel that maybe we have to do a little bit more than the men to have our voices heard. We need to speak that bit louder, maybe put in longer hours, do things, 101% if we can. That would be really my only comment on stereotypes.
Fantastic perspective. Have to be heard more is coming out as an interesting stereotype. What I really loved very passionately that came across, hey, don't come in my way. There's nothing that is going to stop me. I'm unstoppable. And that is how you have sort of risen through your childhood and onwards. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, and thank you for some pearls or nuggets of wisdom. We'll build onto it as we progress across. And I think we'll move to, I don't know if we have Sonal Kaushik on the call.
Hello, Vineet. This is Sonal. I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. I can't see you.
Apologies. I'm in the hospital in a corner right now. My mom is undergoing a
Oh,
surgery tomorrow, so I would just shy away from camera today, wearing
no,
mask
no,
and all.
understandable. All the very best, and thank you for still taking time out in spite of all your personal commitments. Much, much appreciated. I'm sure everybody in panel and audience are going to love. All power to you. All power to you, Sonal. Speedy recovery for your mom.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. So Sonal Kaushik is Director People Supply Chain Ernst & Young, and let's hear the great pearls of wisdom from her, straight from the heroine and the queen. Over to you, Sonal. Okay. So we'll come to Sonal in a bit. Uh, my friend Radhika Narang, absolutely a privilege to be with you here. Hear you again. So Radhika Narang is resource management leader with KPMG India and has some very interesting insights that we'll go through entire panel discussion. Over to you, Radhika.
Thanks, Vineet. Good to be connected with you once again. Um, like Vineet said, I head the resource management function for KPMG India. Have been here 7 years, but overall of nearly 18, 19 years of experience. Like somebody else also said, there's no real room as such for me in stereotypes. I did not really face much while I was growing up. I came from a very, very strong women-oriented family background. But having said that, subconsciously people do land up, making comments that they don't realize are very stereotypical. For example, in one of my earlier roles, much earlier in life, way back in 2004, and I was just a junior executive at that time. So I was working as an admin, and somebody didn't think my work was great and thought, okay, it's not going to happen. Nothing much is going to happen with this person. And that person happened to be one of my leaders when I was heading a resource management function in one of the other companies that I worked with. And that person met me in an elevator, and when he said, I've seen you, and I said, yeah, this is me. I worked with you in so-and-so organization. And now he asked, what do you do here? And I said, I'm leading the RM work. And he literally, in these many words, and I wish I had a video, I wish I had a camera to take a video. And he literally said, you, like this. I was like, oh, well, life is, it's a small little circle, right? So yeah, well, me. But yeah, it's interesting how people, and then of course, then he realized what he was doing because he was also at a very senior position. And he's like, no, I don't doubt that. I don't mean that. So, but yeah, that's okay. But then we went on to have a great reputation, and we had a great camaraderie. But it's just that people subconsciously land up saying things. But I've just been very lucky. I've had a lot of women in my team, but surprisingly, I have never had a woman leader. Never, not once. And I have always had leaders who have been men, surprisingly. But when it came to my case, till last year, I had only men as managers or assistant directors in my team. I was the only leader. So I would sit in the center chair, and the only people sitting around were men. And I was like, what a photograph to frame it, someday. But yeah, it's amazing. Some very interesting experiences.
Fantastic. No, thanks for
Hey,
sharing.
Vineet. Apologies, I'm back.
Wonderful.
I think I wasn't able to unmute myself. Hey, Radhika, great hearing you. And I think very interesting stories. We all can relate to it. So quickly introducing myself. This is Sonal Kaushik. I have over 22 years of experience in service delivery, people supply chain management, transition transformation management. I've led programs across customer and employee advocacy, worked on various mergers, acquisitions, worked extensively in the space of skills and careers management, process, quality consulting, and so on. I've worked with companies like Wipro, CAC, DXC, and now I've joined, as a people supply chain leader at EY GDS. And while Radhika said she didn't have an opportunity to work with a lot of women leaders, I had an opportunity to really work with some great women leaders, and I'm really privileged again to work with a great visionary and influential leader like Shri that we have at EY. So while Vinith, you asked a question, to others about stereotyping and seeing something that we would have seen as a part of our career, if I reflect back in my professional career, there's just not been one, but several events where I think I would have demolished a myth around women pursuing career in technology or being great leaders. And in specific, I do recall my appointment as a technology leader on a transformation program where I was the only diversity leader, and I continue to feel for almost a month that I'm missing the warmth and support from all my colleagues, team. There was just absolutely no acceptance. My all ideas, intelligence, competency, it was continuously challenged. In fact, I wouldn't shy away from saying that there was a clear rejection on the faces and gloomy attitude. And they came a tough meeting with all of them in 2 weeks, wherein I needed to present and brief the entire technology solution. And with butterflies in my belly and nervousness balanced with a smile, I entered the room, reminded myself repeatedly that none of these guys know better than me today, and they're not really prepared as I am. And it really just gave some kind of a courage to open up, present, go with the flow. And I could really see people who were really sitting lean in chair, cold postures, now sitting upright, nodding heads, looking into my eyes, asking questions, smiling back. I felt I nailed it. After my presentation, there was a huge applaud. I saw, while I was still panting, and I was congratulated for my delivery. And the best thing was there was an agreement in the room that I will present the solution to the client on behalf of the program and the team. It was nothing less than I would feel, winning a marathon. I later presented the whole case study at an internal forum and bagged an innovation award for the team. So I think I certainly remember that, and I feel that was one of the places I really broke the stereotype, and today I feel very proud about that.
Fantastic, Sonal. The passion and the pride is absolutely resonating in your voice as you were narrating. So I was brimming ear to ear. If I was on camera, I'm sure all of you would have seen it. So thank you for sharing it, Sonal. And I absolutely loved the common theme that has come across so far. We still have to hear Franca and Melissa, but a common theme that has come so far is just be bold, just be courageous, just go and unleash. I think that's a common theme that is definitely emerging. Love to be challenged was something that Niti started with, and I think let's hear from you, Franca. Franca Sales come from Manulife and is based out of Philippines.
I'm glad to be part of today's WFM Women Leadership Forum and meet great women leaders in WFM. I am Francia Salas, based here in the Philippines, head of the contact center for Manulife. I've been supporting contact center operations for more than 15 years. So I started my career in a male-dominated business area where growth for women is limited. And I can still vividly remember during that time, people have a view that men are effective leaders while women lack this equality as we are perceived as emotional and sensitive. So today's topic is very interesting and close to my heart for me by accepting the fact that both women and men are equally likely to be great leaders. We are strengthening the need for inclusive, fair work practices and structures, and this should provide everyone, regardless of their gender, the opportunity to.
Superb. That is wonderful to hear. Thank you, Franca. Let us hear from Melissa. Melissa Johnson, good morning to you. Global Director, WFM Telus. Over to you.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here. I have to acknowledge one thing with this group of women, and some of you have never met, but I actually know of you because you've been role models to other women. I'm going to call it Elevin for just a moment. Like I have someone working for me who used to work for you and tells me how much you inspired her as a leader. She is now my first female country leader in Guatemala. I'm very proud of Ellie. But we all have had women in our lives that look to us for inspiration, and it's such a great acknowledgement of what you've all done. I'm very proud to have 2 female directors globally on my team, and it's not because I went out and looked for female directors, it's because they were the most qualified candidates that came up in my search, and it's just amazing. But when I think about stereotypes for me moving up in my career, I'm going to tell you my biggest stereotype was actually my own. I had just an internal vision of what a leader had to look like. And it had to mirror all the men in my life. And that's why all the women in this panel is so important, because it gives other people inspiration. So I looked at my male leaders and I said, I have to look like them. I have to do what they do. I have to act like they act to be successful. And there were a lot of times early in my career I did that and I didn't feel successful. I wasn't my best self. I wasn't even myself. So I would say breaking through the stereotype of what you think a WFM leader has to look like, has to act like, is one that we all have to conquer. And that has been my biggest lesson in getting there and being authentic to everyone on my team and everyone I support around the globe.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing an interesting insight here, Melissa. We'll touch upon it in a while. I think let's do a quick round of rapid fire, and I'll start with you, and we'll go in the same order, Niti. So the answer has to be yes or no, right? So we'll just record the number of yeses and nos. Women should not dream of a great career path in WFM. Niti, what would be your response?
That's wrong. What am I supposed to say? False? True? Yeah, it's wrong. Wrong statement.
Wrong statement. Okay, so no.
No.
Okay, perfect. Women should dream.
Say the whole question again, Vineet. I think there's a little bit of a reverse logic into the whole thing.
If there is. That was by design. So women should not dream of a great career path in WFM.
I'm just going to say women should dream for a fabulous career path in WFM.
Fantastic. Thank you. So it's a no. Women should not dream. It's a no.
Okay, no.
Perfect. Moving to Editha. What would you say? Women should not dream?
I would say no, they should.
They should.
They should.
Okay. How about you, Evelyn Brooks?
Definitely no.
No. Okay. Evelyn Pickering?
Definitely no.
Okay. And then we move to Ileana.
Yeah, I don't think they should dream. I think they should go and make it happen. There's nothing to dream of.
Wow.
It's absolutely achievable.
Make it happen. It's achievable. Thank you for that. Sonal?
I think, of course, I think the first question is pretty straightforward. Women should dream of a great career path. It's a straight no. The second one, men suited for the being, you said workforce management influence.
Just hold the second. Just hold the second. Okay,
what's
perfect.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sure. Thanks, Sonal. So we did hear so far it has been a no, which means women have to dream. There is Ileana's perspective. Go ahead and make it happen. Continue dreaming. We will move quickly to you, Aide. Radhika?
I would say women should dream, full stop. Women should dream big. That's it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Whatever they want to do.
You, Radhika, you.
Yes. That's what
you will all. Perfect. How about you, Franca?
It's absolutely a big no. Women should dream.
Women should dream. Melissa?
I'm going to say yes, we shouldn't dream because we should achieve, but no, obviously.
Okay. No, perfect. Thank you. I mean, it was the only trick was what Niti had to bear the brunt. We'll do a reverse round now. So, but thank you for being a sport, Niti, and thank you so very much for your responses. I think women should achieve, and all of you are that role model. All of you are that inspiration for many who are attending the session right now, and right now we have not allowed them to speak. Sorry about that. The format is such. Having said that, the world is waiting for all of you to live your dreams. I think that is the message that I would conclude based on what we have heard from the 10 power ladies. 9 of them I can see, and obviously Sonal is into that power pack mode right now. So we'll do a reverse round now, and Melissa, I will start from you. We have put Niti on spot twice, so I think we'll put you on the spot now. So Melissa, the question is slightly longish, but it is about your perspective. So what is your perspective on the fact that women leaders are best suited for leading and driving transformation?
I don't know if we're best suited, but we are well suited to understand the wants of everyone involved, right? I think that's our unique perspective, is the empathy we bring to the situation. We are listen to all perspectives, and that is what drives that transformation. So I think all genders can do that. It's not specific to women, but I think it's something that comes a little more naturally in our roles.
Fantastic. Thank you for bringing the context of comes naturally. I think it's a very well suited perspective. And let's hear from you, Franca.
Sure. As women, our advantage is our sensitivity, intuition, and emotional intelligence, which helps create a well-rounded workforce. We often use our relationship building and communication skills to manage a team effectively. We can decode verbal cues and body language easily, and this quality makes us highly effective problem solver in the organization.
Fantastic. So highly effective problem solver in the organization. And I think I like the context of emotional intelligence that you brought out. It is so very natural. I'm sure if at all there is a measure that can be magnified, for women, EQ quotient would be magnified 10 raised to power 6 from an intelligence standpoint. So absolutely in agreement there. How about you, Radhika?
So I would say we are equally suited. There's no better or worse in my view. I feel that if at all ever there is a competition, I wonder why. But if at all there is, we'd be equally suited. Why would one want to look down? I mean, yes, why is a different question, but yeah, we would be equally suited. There shouldn't be a less or a more for us.
Fantastic. Is there something that comes naturally when it is all about driving transformation?
It is, because frankly, especially in terms of change management, I think women do this very naturally. We change practically with every hour of the day. We are one role at home, the other role in office, the one with the child, we just change. It's like natural. So transformation comes very naturally. We also do very well with integrity and honesty when put in a different situation. So again, as a women leader, integrity and honesty goes, like, it's one of the top most qualities one is required to have.
Super. Thank you. How about you, Ade? Am I calling the name right?
It's Aida, but it's fine.
Oh, it is Aida.
Fine.
Okay.
I don't want to overgeneralize, but I do think that women are really good at getting things done. And I think, what Niti said at the very start really resonated with me. When I think of some of the women that I work with and the women that I hold in high regard, whatever their position is, whatever status they've achieved in their career, when I think of the women that I look at and think, God, I love working with you because you are just so good at what you do. It's because they get things done. And I'm not sure why I see that so much in women. Maybe it's because a lot of us still feel that we have to do that extra bit and go that extra mile to prove ourselves. Or maybe it's because a lot of us are juggling, busy lives on the home front, juggling families with career. You can't do that unless you really commit to getting things done. But I wouldn't like to overgeneralize and say, yes, women are better than men at this, full stop. But from what I've seen, women who are committed to their careers, who are committed to their jobs, they're good at getting things done, and that's what you need for transformation. So, very subjective opinion.
Fantastic. Thank you for bringing that perspective out. And as we hear from you, Sonal, is there an agreement, violently or peacefully, to what Aida just stated?
There's absolutely no disagreement we need. to anyone, whatever I've heard so far. But yeah, I would think importantly, if I look into workforce management, I have learned workforce management, through men in my career. So whether it is my current boss or earlier also in the previous organization, they've mentored me, and today whatever I've learned is all because of them. So I wouldn't really see that, they're best women best suited, and I would think it's more of a prototype, but definitely agreeing with all of the women leaders here, when it comes to driving transformation, there's no doubt that women have adaptability and perseverance beyond bounds. They can use their high degree of emotional intelligence to promote a company's mission, enriching the worker experience, driving the team with a sense of commitment, purpose, and so, they drive transformation really well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Sonal. Let's hear from you, Ileana.
Yeah, I think that the common theme here is I don't think it should be gender-based. I think it comes more naturally for women to display certain types of qualities, which would be helpful in this case. So showing resilience, agility, managing a more ambiguous environment, showing an inclusive type of leadership. I think that, and including all your co-workers or team members in decision-making processes, and being an inspirational leader. I think it's not, again, necessarily gender specific, but it comes naturally to women. And based on a lot of studies as well, women leaders tend to use a lot of these types of leadership behaviors that would facilitate actually transformation.
Fantastic. Very, very interesting again as the momentum starts getting built up. So as we move to you, Evelyn Pickering, will be good to get your perspectives.
Yeah, I think I agree with what everybody said. I think to be a successful leader driving transformation, you need to be demonstrating the correct behaviors to motivate and drive your teams. And I think women tend to have these naturally. They're able to drive things forward. They're able to get the job done. I'm not saying at all that men can't do that either. I've worked for a lot of really good male managers who have, taught me a lot through the years. But I think sometimes they have to learn these behaviors. It doesn't come naturally to them. So women do make great transformational leaders alongside men. But one of the other things I think what I've seen from other women leaders is they tend to put their teams ahead of themselves, let their teams develop, and they tend to elevate others, which I see a lot from strong women leaders. They're more likely to coach and mentor their teams to achieve what they want to get to. So where they want to get to in their career, and they'll spend the time with these individuals to really progress them on. So I wouldn't say women are better than men, but I would say they're probably a bit more natural than men.
Awesome. So let's hear from you also as well, Evelyn Brooks, or Ev.
Yes, well, I agree with the rest of the team here, right? I think that it's not a gender-based to be best suited. However, we do add value to improve communication, team development. Also, we are committed to get a better job environment, right? So we're able to bring more engaged team members. And we achieve that by listening at the team needs, their feedback, and bring a natural organizational approach that, from my perspective and from others, I think it's like inherent to women, right? I think that the majority of the women, we take initiative to effectively manage multiple tasks, and we are committed to improve the preparation of our team members with a genuine care of the team development and collaboration, right? So yes, as I think as Radhika said also, right, we are responsible for several tasks, and we own each one of them at 100%. So we are not fully dedicated only to our job in our life, and that's it. Most of us are dedicated to our professional life, but we also take care of our family, or we are our house administrators, and we balance everything and everyone to keep all up and running, right? So I think that time management and that passion that we live our life, it's the same way that we manage our day-to-day in each activity or situation that we face in our job while we are in our professional role. So all leaders, regardless of gender, should have or should strive to learn or improve all of those leadership skills needed to live and drive transformation. We all can, and we all have to learn some things. And as most of us say, just most of the leadership skills come natural for some women.
Interesting, very, very interesting. And if we were to, let's say, look at it, since you did bring the context of first woman leader at Guatemala from a WFM standpoint, are there other industries where do you have someone similar as first woman leader in that particular industry as your compatriot in your network?
Well, yes, I think so. As I was telling you, in my first job, I was like breaking the stereotypes, and I was the first one in supervisor and then managers with Ellie working for Melissa. And now in the company I am actually working for, so now I'm the first one to oversee Latin America and actually have a workforce director in the region. So of course, I think there are other industries and mostly here in Guatemala where you go and you see the leadership, the senior leadership board, and maybe you have one or two women and they are either in diversity or human resources. So definitely there's a lot to do to open that path for more women.
Superb. Let's hear your perspectives, Radhika.
Thank you. I think that any gender could lead and drive transformation, but I think also in places where there is disparity, that very existence of those assumptions on women leaders creates an opportunity gap, which places women in a position well suited to challenge those assumptions. So that's, I think, where transformation could come about. And the natural nurturing ability of women leaders also allows for development and helping others to succeed. And I think that it's one of the best kinds of transformation because it's the one that keeps paying forward.
Superb. Superb. Great. I think let's come to Niti.
Hi. So I think everybody's covered, and these are such fascinating points from all. I will stay neutral as well. I do want to say absolutely, we do a better job for sure in running transformation. 2 roles back, I was the regional head of reengineering, then I was a global head of reengineering. And but I must say, I've also worked with the transformation leaders who were men, and they did a fabulous job. So I don't think one over the other. I like how Melissa added, like, we are really well suited, if not best suited. I don't know that this happens with anybody else, but for me, closed looping of things is very important. So I almost bucket everything. We start saying ideas will remain ideas if we don't have execution plans. And to get the execution plans, I always say 30, 60, 90, 30 day, 60 day, 90. If we put a date, put a target, and nobody's asking you to do that. I have these deadlines, like, okay, I want to finish this and I want to move on to the next thing. That just kind of gives you that impetus to, like, okay, let's finish and let's close. And I don't know if the lists we maintain, I have home lists, like things I have to finish over the weekend. Then I have lists of, my calendar has pink and blue and green reminders every day saying this needs to be done. So I think, I don't know why it is, but it helps, I think, deliver some of the transformation stuff quite, I often, my team also, I think I just send them little reminders, hey, deadline coming up, are we ready, or we're going to lose some, yeah, and same thing, I think it just sets the whole tone and the mood of what you're trying to do. And if you time box it, you just said, hey, let's get it done. It just makes it, I think, real, and the execution is strong. So I'll stop there. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And since you have talked about deadlines and your calendar, which is in multiple spectrum of colors. So that's an interesting tidbit, and I think it's a great takeaway for many of the emerging aspiring leaders who may be there on the call, either of the gender. I think it's an important one to take and emulate. I for one will do that, Niti. So thank you for sharing that tip. And since we are on calendars, obviously, if I was to ask the question, and this is not a quiz question, but this, if I was to ask this question on when do we think the first calendar was actually formulated or created? Was it by Julius Caesar, Euclid, Mesopotamian, Sumerian tablets? And tablets in those days used to be the earth clay tablets. So any thoughts, any perspective, free for all. I mean, unleash, pounce right away.
I think the calendar as we know it was Julius Caesar,
if I'm not mistaken.
The calendar that we know is Julius Caesar, yes, 46 BC and implemented from 1st BC. So yes, you are absolutely right. The calendar that we know, but any other perspective, that definitely was not first one. And there is a narrative that I will just share. But any other perspectives?
If I remember this right, I think it was a Mesolithic arrangement. That was the
Sure, yeah, that dates back to almost about 500 BC. Any other perspective?
Is this a trick question? Is there a reverse logic in this question?
No, I won't put you in a spot. It's a narrative and it's a perspective. So the first evidence of a calendar goes back to Neanderthal caveman era, and one of the fossils that has been found out was identified to be women or tibia bone that is there. So your thigh bone that has been identified to be of a woman, and there are said to be 30 stone marks that had been undertaken, and it is the way the story is also narrated is that it was the first record of that 30-day calendarization of the calendar that was undertaken by women. So intuitively, women are programmed and designed to keep a track of time right from time immemorial. So I think that's a clear perspective. Getting things done, I think, Ida, I hope I've got the pronunciation right. So getting things done comes naturally. I think was something that you brought out. I think is a very clear drive that comes across. So we have just gone round robin on the first one. Thank you for bringing out some fantastic insight, and the reason why all of you come out in unison is because all of you are achievers, all of you are leaders, all of you have come through your sheer grit and resilience. There have been stereotypes and myths that you have unshackled. You were not cowed down, come whatever the circumstances. Whenever a challenge was thrown, some of you have stated you have loved it, I think the whole courage aspect that came across. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy to stand up for yourselves. I think those were some of the interesting verbiages that had come across. Women are absolutely well suited for transformation is very clearly emerging out. So a general question to the entire panel. You can decide whosoever wants to go first. Let there be commotion actually. So and it is not a trick question, Niti. So all of you can think of it this way. If all of it has been known so far so very well, what could have been the reason for this not being embraced, either in a set of career or let's say in the boardroom? I mean, what else could have been the reason? I mean, it's a generic question to all of you.
I'll go. So in my view, well, again, this is very, very subjective, but personal view is that I don't think there has been ample oppression as such for us to not succeed, but it's, I think, in our own minds. We don't stand up, and we don't fight enough, and we are not vocal enough, and we don't ask. I mean, I'll be honest, for many, many years, I never had the audacity to ask for a promotion, for an increment, for saying I'm doing very well. Why can't I also be that? And I don't want a tenure-based promotion. I want a capability-based promotion. We don't ask. And it doesn't come naturally to women to ask. It comes naturally to women to give. And then that's where the problem is, that we always say, okay, never mind, it's okay, we let them go. Never mind, let them go. We let go. While it's a great quality, it can also have its own con. So there is a certain element of the society, there's a certain element of what has been there for ages and the stereotypes and stuff. But I think if we decide to change, we can change. The problem is we don't decide soon enough. That's my view.
Fantastic.
And I really agree. I think there's a level of perfectionism in us, and it's not just in our field. Like they say that, a male will apply for a job that he's 80% qualified for, and a woman won't apply for a job unless she feels 100% qualified. I've had to encourage women to apply for roles I know they were qualified for, and people have done the same for me. So I think a lot of it isn't because we are stereotyped to not be there, is we just didn't take those opportunities. And those of us on the call today can look back at our prior selves and know we did take them, right? We jumped into an opportunity that maybe we didn't really feel we were ready for, whereas our male counterparts wouldn't think anything of that. So I think that's where we're catching up. And that's where female role models are inspiring other female leaders to say, you can do this. You can stand there and accept this role and figure it out, just like anyone else in the role would.
Super.
And I think the reality is that you would rarely be 100% ready for a role. Rarely you would be, yeah, I know everything, I'll be perfect at that, I'm fine, I'm just gonna go and do it. And if you are, I think this is not the role for you, just so we are very clear. If there is not an element of you stretching yourself a bit further, I think you should look for a different opportunity where you're gonna do that. Because if you're falling constantly in your comfort zone, you're not moving forward.
Fantastic. And since you brought that context out, what would be your strongest? I mean, okay, let me simplify it. Are you stronger than the strongest excuse to remain in your comfort zone?
Should be. We should be. Right?
Should be if you want to be. If you want to be stronger, then you are stronger.
Yeah, it's almost like, are you self-eliminating yourself from certain opportunities by being like super precise, like here are the list of 10, while you should be actually trying to say, yeah, 80% they're awesome. It's almost like there's a self-elimination, and I've constantly, I think at any given point, I have 3 or 4 people, women who I'm mentoring. This is a constant thing. There is a little bit of a self-doubt, and I don't understand why. And these are women who are already very senior. And when they want to jump to the next one, they're still asking, almost this is like a final nudge or a validation required, like, okay, yes, you can. I'm telling you can. And I just go raise your hand and put in your application first, and we'll figure out later, like what is not matching in your entire skill requirements, etc. So I just want to say that this probably is one thing, despite we doing tons of work around it to make this, bring about awareness on this. Don't self-eliminate. There's still things. So to your point of, is it like, are you stronger than your strongest excuse, right? Of why you can't.
I learned it.
I do think as well that sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I do think as well that with women, some of the traits that help successful men to get ahead are traits that are not necessarily encouraged in girls growing up. So, a man is seen as assertive. A woman who does the same thing is seen as aggressive. and bolshy and sometimes difficult. So I do think that some of the behaviors that are ingrained in successful men are kind of tacitly discouraged in women from a young age. And I think that's, there's almost this thing of we almost feel we have to wait to be offered an opportunity, that, that we're very forward if we go and ask for something, as Radhika said, to go and ask for a promotion or ask for acknowledgement of the efforts that we've done. It's not really behavior, I think, that's generally encouraged in girls growing up. I think that's a factor.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I think it's a very, very powerful point, and basic, simple, powerful is how I would call it, Ida. So yeah, okay, perfect. So looking at the time, okay, perfect. We have already crossed about 60-minute mark. I did not even realize. So that is the charisma or the elegance that all of you bring to this forum, to this panel. Thank you so very much from that perspective. Let me move to the second question, and given the fact I'm skipping the examination question, that number 2 that I had, which Sonika was absolutely ready to respond. Sorry, Sonal, you were absolutely ready to respond. Let me delete that question from the syllabus. Now the question was, men are best suited for being the WFM influencer. So
Really so funny, Red.
I think we can all just shake our head.
Yeah, I think yes, that came across. Thanks for that vociferous thumbs down, Niti. So superb. Good. Okay, so I think I'll go to the next question. And while I think a lot of it has been touched upon, I will want to specifically focus on the influencer dimension. What makes women leaders as great influencers in today's corporate world? Of course, I will want to generalize it into corporate world, business world. But why are women great influencers in the business world?
If I may again go, if that's okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So recently I was going through a Harvard Business Review research where there was a study, and there's a paper online that you can read of why women are better leaders during a crisis, especially. And I was more interested to read why during a crisis. And I'm tying this back to your influencer question, because frankly, it ultimately links it together, the crisis and being able to influence. So the few qualities that they listed out in that research was that out of 13 qualities, women scored higher than men, 13 out of 19. And some very key, very important game changer qualities, which were like, women take more initiative. There is more agility, learning agility. So women learn faster. They inspire and motivate others, and that's why they're better influencers. They develop others, and that's like the most important quality, because while I'm not saying that men don't, but women do it better, and they find it more satiating to impart knowledge and develop others, invest in others, which is such a critically crucial quality. They're better in building relationships, I remember, and yeah, they take better decisions, apparently. They champion change, and collaboration and teamwork, and of course, communication, integrity, honesty. These were some, very key qualities. The last one was diversity. I remember the last. So when I went through this Harvard Review study, it was fantastic to see that there is actually study and actually research on top business leaders across the globe. And it was not like a small sample they took. They were studying a sample size of more than 60,000 women leaders and men leaders. So it was a very interesting insight to have that. So probably that's why tying it back to your influencer question.
Sure. No, thank you, Radhika. I think championing change was coming out very passionately in your voice, is how I registered. So thank you. Building on to what Radhika has said, I mean, is there that you will want to talk about specifically, Editha?
To me, it's been a question more of what wouldn't make women leaders great influencer in the business world. Women represent a significant portion of consumers and of the workforce. Women offer important insights. They bring to the table different skills and perspectives that all lead to innovation, and that's what businesses need in order to make decisions that are attuned to the needs of real people and to serve its customers better.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I think I like the perspective of women being consumers, and that is where you have established a link. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Maybe if we can hear from you, Evelyn Pickering. I think you come from True Blue IBM. IBM is known to be the first of the Fortune 500 organization which gave preference to women employees, and all the women friendly policies and practices set up when it was still a tabulating and computing company and not necessarily a computer a company that we know. So 1896 from memory, I think, was the time frame when the policies were introduced. But not boring you with all with historical anecdotes and facts. Let's hear perspective from you, Evelyn, on women as influencers in the business context.
So I think to become a great influencer in today's business world, you do need certain traits and behaviours, which we discussed earlier on the last question as well. I think you need them whether you're a woman or a man. You need to be passionate about what you do and what you're trying to influence people on. You need to have that sort of relatable personality. You need to be authentic and genuine in what you're talking about and what you're trying to lead. If you're not genuine and authentic, people will see through that and they won't follow you. And you know, whether it's an influencer in business or an influencer on social media, or they're all very similar. It's just different things you're trying to influence. But you need to have people follow you because they respect you, they know you're genuine, and you take time for them. So, you know, you need to be passionate about what you do. You need to be personable. You also need to allow people to be creative and come forward with ideas and develop themselves. So I think genuinely you need to be that look up to somebody if you're going to follow them. You need to understand them, understand who they are. They can listen to you, they can talk to you, and you understand who they are as a person as well. So I think it's all about the type of person you are, if you're a great influencer or not. People have got to want to follow you.
So how about you, Franca? I mean, from Manulife perspective, there are various case studies that have come across very recently. And any specific element that you can draw and link it to the fact why women are great WFM influencers?
Sure. Women indeed contributes a lot to the business world today. We are inclusive, compassionate, and we believe in a collaborative workforce. This is because of our empathetic nature. We can decode emotions and build strong work relationships with any employees. Our fair share of failure and success stories should be told as women leaders. We've all worked hard to get where we are in our careers. We stumbled and persistently get up. Along the way, we, people who get inspired of our stories, who learn from it, who experience their own success because of it. And that's why it's very important that we also share these stories, especially to the other women leaders who walk in the same paths that we walked into before. And lastly, I believe we're blessed with gifts like patience, intuition, and optimism. We win everyone's heart and influence others. We give their best to achieve something big. And this is how we shape today's society.
Very, very interesting perspective. Optimism. I love that. Ages. I think I've not heard this coming from multiple of the panels that I have sort of worked on women leadership. I love the optimism. It's a new word that I'm hearing. So thank you for bringing that out. Niti, conventionally, HSBC has been a banking domain. Banking bastion has been full of various category of stereotypes, so to say. Can you share some of your experiences where you came across as an influencer? I'm sure you have many anecdotes to share, so selecting them would be an issue. But on your perspective of influencer that can be linked to your story, and if there is something sensitive from a organization standpoint, you can absolutely say no. But I mean, the reason why I thought I'll bring that context out was for long, almost about 3-4 centuries, banking has been right from the time of guild creation in Netherlands. From that time frame to I think late 19th century, it has been predominantly a male dominated bastion, and a lot of it continues even today. So hence, how have you gone about influencing your way to become the managing director that you are today? And obviously it would not have come easy.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. So maybe I'll use one example, and not maybe not WFM related. Essentially, so again, this is like once WFM, always WFM. So so if you start to look at some of your stats on your diversity, everybody is presenting, right? As head of operations, you've got your scorecards, and you are within your people agenda, you've got the. And then if you have to make a broad and general statement, it's wonderful, right? We are 56% women in the center overall. But really speaking, when you start to look at the grassroots, and then assistant manager, assistant vice president. So as they go up, that number just keeps dropping. 56 becomes like 25, 25 becomes like 15. And really, that by the time it is like the senior, like really senior grades, it just starts to become single digits. So for me, this has been like, okay, what is going on? More women pass out with better scores from colleges and universities. The more women join the workforce, more women are at the base. Where are we losing them? So, and I know some of the I think learnings from Sheryl Sandberg's Lean. It started to bring to light that you really have to look at where this gap is emerging, and you need to do something to start bridging that gap. And this is where I talk about, it's an open program. It is many, I think, social media and media highlighted. So there's a program called Take Two, or the Career Comeback. So this is where I have been instrumental in. Before Malaysia, 4 years ago, I was in India, and I was like, in India, this is an even more prominent issue, that as you are growing into the ranks, your life events are also happening, right? You're getting married, you're now at a stage of growing your family. And interestingly, if you ever go into a town hall, sort of 500 people, and you ask them, hey, there are men and women. Hi, raise your hands if you are a male and you have a very supportive spouse or a partner who's at home looking after the children. You know, half the hall goes up, all men, and hands go up. When I ask them, say, okay, now let's ask the same question to all the women in this room and raise hands if you, it's the same thing, 5 hands go up in 200. That's your problem statement. That's the root cause. And this is where I think having to propose that we need to have a returnship program. So women can be on break for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, even 10, 12 years. But please come back at the levels where you left. So where we are losing the talent into the grades, that's the same place we are inserting the talent back from the workforce. So that's the place I think I feel like it's made an impact. It's almost become like a program of its own. Every year we do cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3, and we then onboard women who were on a career break, keep bringing, and not at grassroots. They go into the mid-senior, senior, or wherever they had left, so that we start bringing. Does that help, Vineet? I know I went off track.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. It is very, very relevant, very, very contextual, and I think the perspective and the narrative, both on take two and the way you have sort of described the whole journey. It's an influential drive that has been taken. Absolutely, would not have it happened without grit and courage, because it could have a boomeranged and failed as well. So I think conviction was there, and wow. Okay, you raised your hand as the challenge was thrown at you. So fantastic. That goes back to what you had started with. Lovely. Okay. So let's get some of the perspective from you, Melissa. Tell us.
So I think that there's a reason why women can be perceived or bring more influence, and this is examples that have been set for me. When a woman wants to be perceived as a person of influence, she generally doesn't go alone. When I have a problem that involves many departments and many things, I don't go into the room of all of them and say, here's what I want to do and here's how we're going to do it. I meet individually with all the departments and find out, what are you trying to accomplish? What can I do to help you? And so when we perceive a problem, I think we go and get all the influence. So me on my own doesn't have any influence. Me standing with a team of people that I've supported, working towards a common goal, that's the influence. And that's where I think us focusing more on our teams. How do we help our teams? How do we help our clients? How do we help our operational partners? Give them the influence to do what they want to do is what truly gives us influence. And I think that's mirrored to me in women I look up to within my team, outside of my team. When I present them a problem, they go, well, I'm going to go talk to this person and that person and that person. I'm not going to stand in a room and tell them what I know. I'm going to go ask them how I can help them reach their goals, and then we do it together.
Superb. So there again, I think one aspect came across on collaboration based on the research that Radhika had talked about, and you summarized it beautifully, right? You go out, reach out, and then obviously, even if it is the male counterpart, you go ahead and reach out and check it out. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Melissa. Any interesting insight from you, Ev, the Neil Armstrong of Guatemala?
Well, I just have to agree with everything that everyone else has said. And same as Radhika, I was doing my research as a good workforce manager, and I found the same Harvard research with the information, right? And the previous topic in GWFM, they were talking about how easy it is to measure some other specific results on performance, right? But for skills, for example, it could be a little bit subjective, or it's not as easy to measure, right? Do you have the skill or don't you have it? Yes, 9 points, right? So it was good to review in the research that, of course, there are methodologies, and they used a 360-degree assessment to get to these 13 leadership skills where women were better rated during this crisis. And I think, yes, we can have women influencing, and it's a matter maybe also of own stereotypes, right? As Melissa was saying, when she was thinking or about some leaders, all of these men came to her mind, right? And you can see in LinkedIn surveys, right? If you are able to get a mentor, who would you select? Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett? And I was thinking, no, I think maybe Angela Merkel, right? So why don't we start having all of those strong in today's business world, or in today's world, like leaders like her, with a high integrity and honesty, with the ability that we told previously, or the skill that we as a woman are always thinking in our teams. Well, think about a country, not only in yourself, but in everyone, and how you can influence and make their lives, in the job at least, how we can help them in their professional life, right? So I do think there are a lot of women, great influencers, and that definitely during the crisis in this pandemic has been proven that we get the results, we get things done. and we care about our people.
Fantastic. Get things done. That resonates so very well with you. Okay, perfect. How about you, Ileana?
Yeah, while the others were speaking, I was actually thinking, so what do we consider? Who do we think is an influencer, and how do you become an influencer? Not necessarily on social media, but generally. So there's certain, for me, types of qualities, again, you have to have and display in order to make a difference in people's lives. And I really feel strongly about them being, you have to be very clear in your communication style, you have to be decisive, in the same time demonstrate compassion. How do you have a strong and very clear communication, and also at the same time show solidarity and empathy. So having said all of these things, when you are to influence someone, I think that naturally, again, a lot of these qualities come more easy to women than they would necessarily come to men. And I think this is why it's easier for women to be influencers.
Right. Great. Okay. I think we have not heard from you, Sonal.
Hi, Vineet. Yeah, thank you. I agree with all the perspective that I've been hearing so far, and I would think while we're getting better, we still see the board sometimes refusing, to step away from gendering characteristics, especially those in the business world. We must work to realize that women who succeed in influence are not just empathetic and compassionate, but a lot of other qualities like they're adventurous, risk takers, incredibly smart, and women, with the approaches they take to solve delicate situations, are multidimensional beyond belief. And like we heard about the Harvard study, there are a lot of other studies, which have actually confirmed the fact being, women leaders being great influencers. And a recent McKinsey study, if I just, bring here on the stage, which is about women indeed more people oriented and spending a lot of their time in developing and coaching other leaders in their organization. So a lot of influence back. It also indicates that women tended to, display two things, especially during this pandemic. The first being expectations and rewards, which is a lot to do with defining the roles, clarifying expectations, rewarding. And the second was inspiration, which is about inspiration, offering a compelling vision for future and optimistic implementation plan. So I think the perfect balance that we women bring in, driving business results through transparency, agility, being empathetic at the same time, are all skills of great influencers, forging the way ahead, especially as we emerge from the crisis, and women certainly seem to have an edge.
Superb. And that brings me to you, Ida. I think how would you link up some of the stereotypes that you had challenged and burst the myth, some of the aspects that you grew up with. Do you feel influencing came naturally to you, or do you feel it was all circumstantial, that you had to prove and demonstrate your grit and resilience to be known as woman of being influencing capability?
No, I don't think it was something that I had to consciously work at. I think the biggest thing in being an influencer, as Evelyn and I think some of the other ladies said, is authenticity. I don't think that women in general are better influencers than men. I think, it really does depend on the individual. Some of the people who have influenced me most in my career have been men, but I think what they all have in common is an interest in people. And I know some of the other ladies have spoken about that. And I do think that a lot of the time, women have a natural curiosity about other people. We'll go to a shop and we're queuing for a changing room, and we'll talk to the other person who's in the queue, and we'll comment on what they're buying, and we'll ask them to comment on what we're buying, because we're just interested in people. And I think that comes across, and that allows you to influence people, because what you get to then is when you get to know the person as opposed to just the team member, then you know what motivates them. And you realize that management, a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. So if you're able to adapt your style for what you know will motivate the different people that you're working with, because you know those people personally, you've taken the time to get to know them. I think that makes it easy to influence people. But that's not something that it's easy to fake. You know, if you're genuinely interested in people and their lives and what motivates them, and you know the differences in the people in your team, then it becomes easy to know what motivates them and what gets them excited and what their strengths are, so that you can get the best from the team that you're working with. That would be my perspective on it.
Thank you, Ida. I think that brings us towards. I think we are overshooting the time in another 60 seconds. So, but we'll still continue. Sorry, Shiva. We'll just sort of allow the opportunity for audience also to raise some questions to the panel. But in summary, I think it came out very, very clearly that everybody else here is 10 eminent leaders that are out there in front of you, right? That has been part of this esteemed panel. I wished so very much that this was a session that we were doing in brick and mortar in person, and not necessarily virtually. But I think we'll possibly 2023 we will have it in that fashion. Is the way I will sort of look at it. Having said that, I think. Clearly, women are naturally suited to be transformational drivers or transformers, if I can use that word. No pun intended. And women are naturally going to be influencers, right? And it is time that whether it is boardroom or I think Niti, you gave a fantastic metaphorical context of take two of why as you went up into a senior positions, women percentages started getting reduced. I mean, the funnel was fantastically glorified, and all WFM professionals, for you that waterfall funnel is a great example, right? From 56% going down to low single digit is a clearly a stage that needs to be channelized and challenged. Thanks for being that influencer, Niti. I think every one of you have given fantastic examples, and then obviously what will stick with me would be Neil Armstrong. So I think the first that came across was very, very passionate. I think all of you came out with some fantastic sense of humor, and I think that was going to be my takeaway. All of you are absolutely awesome, rocking, amazing. And thank you for keeping the energy very, very high throughout the entire panel. And at least I did not put the 9 panelists that I don't see, and since that I see, and the 10th panelist Sonal, whom I can't still see, but she was absolutely responsive in spite of the fact that she is from hospital right now. So thank you panelists. It has been a privilege for me to be with all of you. Absolutely an honor. Great moments of learning. I have made some multiple copious notes, some mentally and a lot of them physically on sheets of paper, and thank you for sharing all of them. I would invite you, Dr. Shiva, to take the proceedings ahead.
Thanks, Vinit. Not only me, people are loving your moderation. It is just amazing and fantabulous. It's one of the best moderation, and it's been a phenomenal feedback that we are getting. During this discussion, a lot of messages out here, and looking at all the women leaders, it's amazing. A lot of questions out here asking. There's one question from Jay Parika has popped up some questions. Jay, would you like to come onto the camera and ask questions and probably if you could comment on it? Good to have. And Jay, you're there?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, Jay.
Fantastic. This was a very educational, wonderful session. So got a good learning out of it. One of my questions has always been, and something that I've strived to do, is kind of create a better balance and better calibrated leadership teams, right? And it's in past, it's taken a lot of effort. As of late, it's become a lot easier. but how do you guys feel that? What are the other things that can be done to empower women more, to get them more involved, right? Being more involved in our industry that's not always more prone to female leaders, and have them go through this full cycle, right, to being a wonderful leaders as all of you guys are, right? So are there any feedback or things that you guys are doing in your organization? So I know some of that you guys shared and talked about, but anything else you would mention that might be fruitful for even a lot of the male leaders there, doing business in a certain way, from trend-based setup or to new age learning to our new norm because of the pandemic, right? Because a lot of dynamics have changed. How do we respond to that better so we provide a better equal opportunity for everybody, right? Ideally for women, more focused for women because that's a higher priority, but ultimately it needs to be for everyone, right? How do we do that, right? Any feedback on that would be wonderful.
I can take part of that, Jay. If you guys, I think two things. One, in the WFM space, even with women we have, a lot of times we're stereotyped in certain rules. Like we have lots of women schedulers, but not a lot of women forecasters. So I think challenging that stereotype and the skill, but more than not, I would say I'd encourage you asking them to speak up in meetings, because I think it is a natural shyness that they shouldn't be shy. They need to be encouraged to speak up. And if you have women on your team who are holding roles and they're overshadowed in meetings because they won't interrupt, I would stop and say, let's make sure we hear from everyone. And not to say that they should do it on their own, but we have to encourage that in leadership roles, that we let everyone have a voice in the way they're comfortable voicing it. And that would be my biggest point of encouragement to growing both genders in the WFM space.
I would agree with that as well, Melissa. I think it's giving people a voice and the confidence to be able to speak out and give their opinion. And I think even if that's on a one-to-one basis to begin with, to grow that confidence, but enabling people to feel comfortable to give their opinion, right or wrong. Not everybody's right all of the time, and it's allowing people to do that.
I have 2 points to add over here. We as a firm, I know, are doing a lot more to add women at senior positions, especially, and we take this very seriously. But I think one of the trainings that I was recently attending was very, very informative. So what would happen is that men would want to support women and they would be very accommodative according to them. But like, for example, somebody who's come back from maternity leave and the men would say, okay, no, I'll put you on a project which doesn't require a lot of travel, which is slightly lighter, so you can accommodate your other schedule. And women would say, no, I'm ready. I mean, I'm okay to take it. And he would be like, no, it's okay. I understand, no problem. But the problem is that they are trying to be supportive, but they are not listening that women are ready. So, that's one very subconscious thing that we tend to oversee. And it was interesting how firms like ours are actually having proactive trainings for men and women, saying that this is okay. I mean, if she's saying she's ready, she's ready. She can stretch, she can do what she wants to. But I think the other thing that as firms, what more people can do is be more accommodative. So more it's flexi timings, working from home. And now with COVID, I think there is a lot of flexibility anyway. This will add to the diversity of the firm. But let them be. So I think we have to be more open-minded, that at various phases of life, women can come back and pick up the pieces from where it was left, versus the thought that maybe they will take longer, maybe they need more time, maybe they can't stretch because they have other responsibilities. Let them decide that. Let them tell you, I need more time, I need more space, and I need a break. Not for you to decide. And that is a fantastic training that we've been, and this is one of the part of the training, but I think making or creating awareness, very, very important as a firm. That's what we need to do.
Thank you, Radhika. It's very, very good. And there's one question from someone from Manila, where what are the 2 characters or skills or traits that women leaders should have in the WFM area in these era request, I mean, any of you or all of you could share any 2 traits or maybe the strengths or kind of the capabilities, if you could name.
I think the first 2 that comes to my mind will be time management and organizational skills. There are a lot of things going on, and you have to be pretty much organized. That would be like one of the 2. Not only being a woman or a man. That's my thought. Of course, there are a lot more that we already discussed during the whole hour, right? But I will say those 2.
Maybe I can offer a little different perspective. I think WFM, a lot of folks associate with the heavy technical skill, right? But and maybe linking to earlier question as well. If we know people there's a skill and there's will, right? Skill and will. If you have been successful in doing A and you have no WFM skill, WFM core technical skills can be taught. It's the leadership abilities. It's the mindset of yes to get the results in the right way. All matters. And something that I've tried and something I promote for myself, for my teams a lot is if everybody kept growing into the same field, then nobody will do anything else ever. So to make sure that I think being open to, all hiring managers should be open to taking talent from all fields. And they may or may not be expert in WFM, but I think that piece, the technical piece, can be easily picked up if you are a smart, talented, intelligent individual. And the bigger piece on WFM is the leadership capability to drive the whole organization and get the entire rhythm around it as well.
Any other thoughts? Thanks.
I think if I may add to that, a skill that I find useful, not only in WFM, but in any other organization or field, is really being nimble and being able to adapt, because that's something that's constant, right? Is changes, and that if we're really pushing for transformation, then we need to be ready to adapt and to change. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Edita. I think we have the next speaker waiting. What we will do is thank you so much for taking your time out. Thanks, Melissa, Radhika, Hida, Evelyn, Iliana, and Edita, Niti, and Francia. Truly, and Sonal, truly inspired, and I've been getting a lot of feedback from the all over the social media saying that it has been a fantabulous session where and we never had any sessions gathering all the women leaders in WFM. There are sessions happening with the HR, operations, and many other areas, but in WFM this is the first time that we are able to curate this, and getting all the leaders together has been a phenomenal achievement. And thank you so much.
Sorry, Shiva. We have Neil Armstrong today with us, so it had to happen. The first.
Absolutely. This is under GWFM Women Leadership Forum that as we form. So under this, we'll continue to do many programs, and all the leaders who are present here are going to drive this, and let's bring in a lot of initiatives and a lot of change and also transformation.
I just wanted to say it at the last. I do not know whether there is a culture of giving a standing ovation to a panel, but if till now I have seen or heard a panel which I thought I will personally give a standing ovation, it is this. This wonderful session. Wonderful session, ladies. And Vinitji, I mean, this kind of moderation is out of the world. And all of you ladies, this is just phenomenal. We are truly inspired. If that was the purpose of this panel, we are truly inspired. Thank you so very much.
We had 10 power ladies. It had to be wonderful.
Thanks, Vinit. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Great to meet all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.